Hello and welcome to the Podquest of Bread. This episode is coming right after a very long interview with an amazing candidate. So it's going to be a little more brief than it typically is, but there is something, and that is this. The continued failure for the United States, the political spectrum within it, and the system as it is to differentiate between what is leftism and what is not leftism. See, the reason I want to talk about this and the reason I feel like I got to talk about this is yet again Donald Trump, in a tweet, mischaracterized what it means to be a leftist in the United States of America. He mischaracterized and thereby put the lives of true leftists in jeopardy. See, some Trump supporters don't want to acknowledge this. Some Trump supporters do not want to think about and comprehend the fact that the things Donald Trump says about the radical left Democrats, that has a really real impact on the lives of many people, the lives of people I consider to be close friends, and the lives of people I care about. This morning, Donald Trump, in a partial, petty, temper tantrum-like tweet, put out, "Don't buy Goodyear tires." They announced a ban on MAGA hats. Woohoo. Get better tires for far less. This is what the radical left Democrats do. Two can play the same game, and we have to start playing now. I'm not going to talk about the legalities of this tweet. I'm not going to talk about how petty it is for the President of the United States to go after Goodyear. I'm not going to talk about any of this. What I'm going to talk about here is the President of the United States talking about the Democrats being leftists. See, this is the biggest misconception in the United States, and it has everything to do with the educational system we are brought up in. Prior to me moving to the left, prior to me being put on this journey that I've been on to discover myself as a leftist, I made this mistake, and many Americans, millions of Americans, make this mistake out of simply lacking the education to understand it. See, Democrats, and I've said this on the podcast so many times, but I will say this till I'm blue in the face and until it changes. Democrats in any other country would be a center-right party. Because there is a actual leftist base in this country, the Democrats really should be viewed in this country as a center-right party. Now, I get liberals and I get people within the Democratic Party who challenge me on that. I get people that don't want to face that fact, but let's understand something. The basis of the Democratic platform, if you were to take it, if you were to strip the word Democrat from it, if you were to strip any language that would denote what party it potentially is linked to, and take that platform and drop it in any Republican circle, Republicans would flock to 90% of it. Republicans would support 90% of it. Because at its core, the Democratic Party's 90% of their platform is no different than that of the Republicans. At its core, the Democratic Party's platform is almost equal to that of the Republican Party's. They strive for the same things. They operate under the same systems. As I was just discussing with Mark Charles on the podcast tonight, on the long interview, which if you have the chance, please go watch. As I was discussing, Joe Biden or Donald Trump, there's really no difference because when they get into office, they operate under the same exact system. And really, when it comes to pushes for things like Medicare for All, when it comes to pushes for changes on people's housing, when it comes to pushes for changes on whether food is a commodity or not, whether people's access to water should be treated as a commodity or not, they take literally the same stance. See, I wish the Democrats were actually radical leftists. I really do. I wish the Democrats embraced radical leftism. I wish the Democrats embraced the anarchist side of the leftist community. I wish they embraced the actual socialist and communist side of us. But they don't. They don't care. They don't want to embrace that. They will not embrace that for a long time. And that's the problem. See, Donald Trump has spent a good chunk of the last few months detracting from his failures with COVID by attempting to spark a war between his cult and his followers and people like myself and close friends of mine. See, when he puts out tweets that radical leftists and anarchists and agitators are sparking violence and riots and burning down your cities and trying to tear down your lineage and tear down your history, he is trying to incite violence against the very people that want to seek the most humanity-driven change in this country. Donald Trump spending time tweeting about the radical left, it's just to keep that anger built up within his crowd. We've seen that anger brought out among people who are viewed as radical leftists. We've seen that in Charleston, where a young woman lost her life. We just came up on the anniversary of that. We saw that not too long ago when a man attempted to drive his car into a crowd and nearly hit a handicapped woman and then shot her husband. We've seen this anger, this vindictiveness that Donald Trump has developed through very careful manipulation of his followers brought out on people. And see, that's where we as leftists, we as true leftists, true principled leftists have to have this conversation. We cannot stay silent about it. See, promoting our ideas and promoting our ideology, promoting our viewpoint on humanity-driven policy, promoting what we view as the core of our being, caring about one another, ensuring that a roof is not taken away from your comrade's head, that your comrade has access to water or food, that your comrade has access to healthcare, the things that are fundamental human rights, that are fundamental pieces of their ability to live. That's just a piece of what we need to do. The other thing we need to do is we need to shift the narrative in the United States. We need to stop this narrative of the Democrats being left. We have to stop it. We have to interject. And if I have to do 100 or 1,000 episodes like this discussing this very topic, I will, because it's one that is so close to me. I've heard so many people that I've grown to respect and care for mischaracterize the Democrats as the left. And that has to end. That has to change. That cannot go on any longer. So, Donald Trump, he's going to continue to tweet it. His cult will continue to eat it up. We need to be there on his tweets, whether they be, or let me rephrase that, on his tweets, on his Facebook, wherever it may be. If we have to stand across from one of his rallies and point this fact out, we have to. Because at this point, it's our lives in danger. It's been brought to my attention that there's questions why my flag flies in distress, and ignore my pile of clothing. There's been brought to question why my flag flies in distress, and it's because my life is physically in danger every time he tweets something about the radical left Democrats. And until that changes, that flag will fly in distress. Until that changes, that flag will not be flipped over. Because this is a fight that I believe in and a fight that we have to go through with. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Podquest of Bread. Be sure to check out the interview with Mark Charles from earlier today.